Hi there. You're listening to the Health, Wellness, and Chocolate Podcast, Weight Loss for Busy Moms. I am Katie Corbett, your host, and today we are going to talk about the 5 main reasons why you feel powerless to lose weight. So what I want you to do is grab a pen and pencil and maybe take notes for this one. And here's why I say it, because I want you to write down some of the reasons that I'm going to talk about for you and categories. And then I want you to, throughout the whole week, go ahead and look and see if any of these things resonate with you. And I think it's easier if you just jot down some notes and take it with you throughout the week and refer back to them than trying to listen back through the whole podcast again. So the whole point of this podcast specifically is to get you to start thinking and identifying the areas where you feel powerless in your life and how you use food to cope with that feeling of powerlessness. I got this information. So I don't know if you've ever heard of Dr. Susan Albers, but she is a psychologist, and she writes a lot about EQ. Now, EQ, if you think of IQ, like EQ, right, is emotional intelligence. And so studies have shown time and time again that if you struggle with your weight and you cannot figure out why, there's a very, very strong chance that you do not have the tools to be emotionally aware of what is going on in your life, and your brain will just automatically choose food to fill in whatever gaps you may have. So if you're lonely, if you're tired, if you're bored, if you're angry, if you're frustrated, if you're just feeling powerless or feeling vulnerable or feeling rebellious, like your brain is automatically just going to tell you you're hungry and that food will solve it, right? Without any thought on your part. It's an automatic default setting. So raising your emotional intelligence and learning this skill helps you kind of come up with strategies besides eating. And then those strategies help you lose weight because you're not turning to food to eat. You're actually dealing with whatever it is that's going on. And the weight really does take care of itself because you're not eating all those extra calories. And so you don't deal with deprivation or, feeling like you're on a diet. Really, you're dealing with the why behind the extra weight, which I always talk about, right? Extra weight is a symptom of a life out of balance. And if you can figure this out, the weight will just take care of itself. So your job, especially this week going forward, is to really start to pay attention to your life and to your eating habits. Now, if you've gone through the first few podcasts that I have put up, I give you the tools to get you started with your weight loss, right? And a few of them are to write down your food 24 hours ahead of time. And there's so many reasons why I have you do that. But one of the reasons is because I want you to start identifying when the circumstances are that you find an irresistible pull towards food. And this data will help you so much going forward when it comes to your weight loss efforts. So the 5 categories, I'll go through them, and then we'll kind of take maybe a little bit of a deeper dive into them. But I want you to see if any of these kind of give you a light bulb moment, or like, oh, you know what, that does sound like me, or, every time I'm with my mother-in-law, I want to eat food because I'm so mad at her for being such a moron, right? Or whatever it could be, right? Just, I want you to try to see if you can identify any of these areas, if anything resonates with you. So I was listening to Dr. Susan Albers about 6 years ago when I started my year of grace and was learning all these concepts about sustainable weight loss. And she had on this panel for over the course of about 4 days. It was like a seminar all about weight loss and she had different experts on, and one of the experts that she had on was Dr. Roger Gould. Now, Dr. Gould, he is also a weight loss expert. He deals with well over 17,000 people. He's helped lose weight using, mind management. And so he found that people typically fall into 5 categories. And really the overarching issue, if you can picture maybe an umbrella, the umbrella is a feeling of powerlessness, and under that umbrella are these 5 areas where the people feel powerless. Okay. So we're going to go through the different areas that you feel powerless. And I want you to see which ones you resonate with and which you identify with. And then going forward, see if you can come up with strategies of things that you can fill your life with rather than turning towards food. Now, inside the Health and Wellness Blueprint, I've actually just taught on this subject for our weekly meeting. We meet once a week, every Monday at 10 a.m. And it's a question and answer time. I usually teach a little workshop, and then, we're live, so you can always ask me questions, okay? So I taught this concept in there, but I felt like I really wanted to get it out into the world as well, beyond the Health and Wellness Blueprint. But for us inside the Health and Wellness Blueprint, next week we're going to go even deeper into these concepts, because it really... it's the second pillar of our weight loss journey, which is self-esteem. And so we're going to take these feelings of powerlessness and we're going to build on them. And so what I wanted to do is offer you the opportunity to come on into the Health and Wellness Blueprint. It's only $1. And so you can kind of get in there, check it out. It's like a little trial. That way, I know sometimes people get nervous taking a risk and trying something out. If you're not familiar with me, maybe you're a little worried that it's another diet plan or whatever. But, I made it $1 so you can try it out, see if you like it. And then you'll have access to the ebook, and you'll have access to the 9 foundational classes. And then you'll also, you can participate in the Zoom call, all right, if you're here with us on a Monday at 10 a.m. Or you'll be able to watch it back at least inside the Health and Wellness Blueprint if you can't make it live. But I want to offer that to you, especially if any of this resonates with you and you're like, man, this is it. Okay. This is what I've been looking for. Please. This is why I started Health, Wellness, and Chocolate. So I want you there. So please come. So without any further ado, excuse me, let's dive in to these 5 areas. So the first area, Dr. Gould says, you feel powerless about how to deal with your self-doubt. So, food is a really great distractor, and it helps us a lot of times not deal with very, urgent issues if we can either turn to food to eat or distract ourselves with a diet, right? So, food is just a great distractor. Either we can be thinking about it, daydreaming about it, cooking it, eating it, or like not eating it, but focusing on not eating it, right? If we're on a diet, or thinking about a diet and planning a new diet. Food is just a fantastic distractor for us. And it helps us not really face whatever issues may be coming up for us. So rather than dealing with maybe an uncomfortable situation or maybe a big decision that you're facing that you really need to be making, you doubt yourself. You don't feel like you're capable of making those decisions, but you can just go eat and help distract you for a little while. So if you've ever noticed, like if something's kind of pressing, and maybe you have to be doing something, a project or something that's coming up, you might find like you just have the munchies, like this hunger switch has been turned on for you and you just want to munch all day long, right? So it's that doubt, you're feeling doubtful about your own capabilities, about your own resourcefulness. You don't feel like you can have your own back. You don't feel confident. Okay. So that's the first area. The second area you might feel powerless in is you feel powerless how to get real satisfaction out of life. And that powerlessness makes you feel frustrated, right? So I think a lot of us, especially if you've gained weight during COVID, I think this could be one of those areas that would fall into that might resonate with you, is you feel frustrated, right? Life is not going how you thought it would. All your plans get canceled. Maybe the job is over, or maybe you can't find work, or maybe, you want to work, you don't want to work and you want to be home. Like whatever is going on in your life right now, you are frustrated with it. And life is just not working out the way you want it to. Your relationships are frustrating. You have unmet dreams and goals. Well, food is a reward, right? So you may say to yourself, you know what, I can't do what I want, but at least I can go eat. Okay. And I know during COVID, it's like, I can't see my family, but at least we can have something to eat, or we can at least go grab something and leave the house for a little while and then come back. Like food really became a comfort and a center. And I don't want you to take this as like feeling bad about yourself at all. Like I want you to take this information and be like, thank God I had food when I needed it. Like, I'm so thankful that I didn't turn to drugs. I didn't turn to alcohol when I was feeling frustrated. That I had a cookie. Like, there's totally worse things that you could be doing with your life, right, than overeating. But it's important to figure out what you're doing, and especially if extra weight on your body is causing you maybe health issues or causing you to not feel so good about yourself. It's important to be able to get to the bottom of it, right? So if you feel frustrated, life is not going the way you wanted it to, and you feel powerless in the circumstance to actually address it and change it. You have unmet dreams, you have unmet goals. Maybe you were going to start something and it shut down, right? It's so frustrating because it's completely out of your control. There are so many circumstances this past year and a half that have been out of our control. And so it is frustrating. And so food, it really becomes like a constant source of comfort, of pleasure. It's a reward. You can choose what you want to eat. You can choose where, what restaurant you want to eat at or what you're going to cook. And it's a way of like distracting your brain from what you're not able to do. Food can kind of fill in the gap for you. And so if that resonates with you, start paying attention to all the times that you're driven to eat and see what you can do instead, and notice that frustration, like, I'm feeling frustrated right now. That's why I really just want to eat all these chocolate chips. That's why. But maybe you could say like, okay, what else can I do? So maybe you can't start the business of your dreams right now, or maybe, you can't get that job, but maybe you can better yourself in a different way. Maybe go ahead and get some books on business, or go ahead and pick up a hobby that you find satisfying. Like, find something that could fill you up and satisfy you as much as food could. And I mean, it has to be, don't just deny yourself food. Fill up that emptiness that you have with something more wonderful than food could ever provide for you. The third area would be that you feel powerless to ensure your own safety. And basically what that means is you feel vulnerable. And COVID really could kind of, that might resonate with you too, as far as COVID goes. You feel vulnerable. But the way Dr. Gould meant it in this situation is like you use the extra weight on your body as an excuse to not put yourself out there, to not take chances. So if you find yourself saying a lot of times like, oh, well, once I lose weight, I will go start dating, or I will go look for a new job, or I will start this new project, or I'll go ask for a raise, or I'll be more fun, or, I'll join that club, or I'll try this new thing, like once I lose weight. So if you end a lot of sentences with once I lose weight, that might fit into this category where you just feel powerless to ensure your own safety. And so food and extra weight on your body is actually, even though you hate it, it actually is like a bit of comfort for you to have that extra weight on, because it's almost like you're giving yourself permission not to put yourself out there. You're able to more or less like hide inside your fat and not take chances and blame the fat for not putting yourself out there because you don't want to fail. So maybe you're a perfectionist and you're afraid of failing, and you're afraid of taking chances and getting rejected. And it's so much easier to just have extra weight on your body and have that be a problem than to actually face maybe some of these other issues. It might be crushing to you to get rejected, but it's so much more comfortable for you to just be overweight and blame anything that goes wrong in life on the extra weight, as opposed to, feeling that vulnerable and having put yourself out there and getting rejected or not succeeding and failing. That extra weight is a safety and a comfort. And that might sound crazy because it's like, no, I hate this extra weight on my body. But the truth of the matter is you may hate it, but it still may serve you. And so seriously, take some time and think about that. If that resonates with you, if you're like, oh my goodness, yes, that I do that. I didn't realize I did it, but I do it. Get in the health and wellness blueprint. Okay, so the fourth way would be you feel powerless to appropriately assert your independence. And basically that means like you don't feel like you're capable of setting up your own boundaries and actually being a full actualized adult. You almost feel like disqualified from being able to say no, and you're feeling angry or rebellious, right? So you may say things like, I can't wait to have ice cream once the kids go to bed because it's the only break I get all day, right? You're feeling rebellious of maybe what's happening in your life, or angry. Like if you have food, if you say stuff like, food is the only enjoyable thing I have going on right now, that is actually an angry statement. And the reason why it's angry is food does not care about you. It does not love you. It's never going to be there for you. It's not your friend. It doesn't help you. I mean, it keeps you alive. If you choose the right foods, it'll nourish you, but it's not your friend. It's never going to fulfill you the way other things in life will fill you, be it either the Lord or a good friendship, a good relationship, your family. Those things are so much more important than food. And if you're finding like food is the only enjoyable thing that you have in your life right now, understand that should be like a red flag. And it is a somewhat angry statement, but like start identifying other ways to have an enjoyable life. Now, I know when I'm recording this, it is a pandemic, right? And actually right now, like I'm looking out my window and there's snow. We're getting another snowstorm, 3 to 5 inches. It's crazy. Okay. But like there are ways that you can find pleasure in life that don't include food. And your job as an adult who is fully capable is like your job is to go find those things that are enjoyable so that food is not the only enjoyable thing that you have in your life. And what I've noticed is this comes down to like self-esteem. If you do not have this belief that you're capable of doing that, or you don't think you deserve to have an enjoyable life, food will always be what you use, and weight will always be a problem for you. Okay, so figure that out. What can you do today to start making life more enjoyable? And I go through this in the Health and Wellness Blueprint on a deeper level, but I really wanted to get your juices kind of moving in this area so you can start thinking for yourself and applying it. And that's why I wanted you to take notes and write it down so you can take it through the week with you as you go and see like how, this is how this is showing up. Okay. Now, the fifth way is, according to Dr. Gould, is you feel powerless to fill yourself up when you feel empty inside. And this fifth way, it kind of ripples into all the other areas because you might feel angry, you might feel lonely, you might feel bored. And again, with COVID, I think we've all felt that. But, even being like, I love my life, but there were times where it's just exceptionally lonely, especially as a mom. There are just seasons of utter loneliness, or even boredom. We homeschool. My life is very rich and very wonderful, but there are days where I'm just bored, like 7-year-olds are awesome, but like, they're really not like your girlfriends hanging out, right? Like they're just kids that need to be managed. And life can get very tedious, especially in the ins and outs and just being in the trenches of life, the laundry, the dishes, the cleaning. I can sweep. I don't know about you. I can sweep every hour on the hour and I will always have something to sweep. I don't know how it happens, but it's like it never ends. There's always something I could clean. So there's like this emptiness, right? This boredom, this thing that's just never, it's just never satisfied, right? It never just goes away. And even like constant dieting can lead you to having this empty feeling. And what I want to actually kind of bring to your awareness is if you're feeling empty or lonely or bored, dieting is a really good distractor. Trying to figure out a food plan and researching what should I eat this week or what's the best way to lose weight. Maybe I'll separate out the carbs, learning all these different rules to eating, different recipes that can have this today. Like it takes up a lot of mental energy and a lot of mental space. And so, if you're feeling empty and lonely and bored, jumping from diet to diet and having a weight problem gives you purpose. It fills your day with something to do, because I think if you lost the weight and didn't have a weight problem, you think like, well, who would I be without that weight problem, right? And then you have to wonder, like, maybe I wouldn't like my life because it is empty and it is boring. And if I didn't have the weight to focus on, what would I be doing? And the other thing too is, like, you may have an idea of what a thin person's life is like. And okay, thin people, they're outgoing and they have tons of friends and they're always on the go. And maybe you're an introvert. And the idea that you actually have to go and socialize with people as a thin person, because that's what you believe thin people do, is terrifying. And so it's just easier to keep that extra weight on. That would go under that vulnerable one, that example there. But, having extra weight on your body, having that, the yo-yo dieting, having a purpose every day that dieting gives you, it helps you avoid feeling that emptiness, that loneliness, and that boredom. And so I want to challenge you, like, do you feel that way? That, you get away from that feeling of emptiness, either by filling yourself up with food or choosing like all these diet plans to try, and then you start having success, but then something comes up and the weight comes back on. But now you get the excitement. It's almost like a new relationship, right? You get the excitement of, let me try out another diet. Let me see what this one does that the other one didn't do. And you have like all this hope for this new diet, and you're going to try it. And it's like a new relationship where everything's so exciting, and you're going to learn, and like can't think of anything else but that diet. And then, so you try it for a little while, but then it gets old and stale, and, something happens, and it's just nice to eat some of the food you had been restricting. And then the weight comes back on, and like, now you got to look for another diet, and you start the whole cycle over again. Try to drill down and see, like, what else could you be doing that could fill you up, where food isn't the center of focus of your life anymore? Like, what else is just as exciting as finding a new diet? Could it be learning a new hobby? Could it be learning a skill that's marketable that you could start a business with? Could it be, reading a really good book, or investing in stocks, like learning about something? You know what I mean? Like getting your brain into something else so that food kind of diminishes in importance. Like, you don't want to just eliminate the food. One, you wouldn't get very long, right? Because we need it every day. But also, like, you want it so like your life is so awesome that food isn't so important. And that's where the work comes in, is like creating a life you love. And that's what we do in the Health and Wellness Blueprint, is we lose the weight, but we're also at the same time, we're creating a life we love based on your unique personality. And this is some of the tools that we use to do that. All right. So let me go through really quick, just a brief overview in case you didn't take notes and now you're like, oh, I wish I took notes. Man, she told me to and I didn't. I'm just joking. All right. So the first one is, you doubt yourself, right? You feel powerless about how to deal with those self-doubts, and food is a great distractor. So you get to go eat and do something else rather than face making a difficult decision, rather than face not being perfect, or, making the right decision, or doing anything. Like, you just doubt your capabilities, and it's just easier to eat than face the fact that you doubt yourself, or you don't believe that you're capable of doing whatever it is you're facing, right? You're kind of avoiding being an adult, basically. So the second area is you feel frustrated, right? Life isn't going how you thought it would. And, you have unmet dreams or goals or frustrating relationships, or just like everything is broken. Like, do you ever have those feelings like, I am doing everything wrong? Like, nothing is going the way I want them to go. I hear you. And it's like, it's just frustrating, and you feel powerless. And it's like, you know what? At least I can eat these cookies. Like, I may not be the best mom, but at least I can have cookies. Or I can't go do what I want. I've got to wear a mask everywhere I go. I got to do this, or I got to do that, or I can't go see people I want to see, or whatever, but at least I can eat, right? And so you feel frustrated, but food has become this reward. So the third way is you feel powerless to appropriately assert your independence. And basically that comes down to you feel vulnerable, and you use that extra weight on your body as an excuse not to put yourself out there. So you're going to end sentences or start sentences with, once I lose weight, dot, 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 right? And you fill in the blank. So I'll start dating. I'll start looking for a new job. I'll start asking for a raise. I'll start looking, I'll start, you fill in the blank, but then you finish that sentence with once I lose the weight. The fourth way is you feel rebellious or angry, right? Food is the only enjoyable thing you have in your life right now, which is not true, right? That's a lie. Your brain tells you because food does not care about you. And you just don't want to give up that food, right? It just brings you so much pleasure and it's the only joy you get. I can't wait for the kids to go to bed tonight because I can go have a nice big glass of wine and I'm looking forward to it all day. And I can't wait to have that ice cream. I can't wait for the kids to go to bed so I can pull out my secret stash of frozen Reese's Pieces that I keep in the broccoli, bag inside the freezer because they don't look in there and I cannot wait for them to go to bed so I can eat that, right? Like whatever. But it's just like this feeling of like life is really hard right now and you're angry or rebellious and it's like, I'm going to eat because at least, food is pleasurable, even if my marriage isn't, or even if my friendships aren't, or even if my in-laws are terrible, like at least I have food, right? I enjoy it. Or my work is so hard, but at least I can eat. And, at least I can go out to lunch and have a huge lunch while I'm at work. It's the only highlight of my day, right? You fill in the blank, but if you find that relates to you, pay attention to that one. And then the last one is you feel empty, lonely, or bored, right? So dieting, chronic dieting, finding other things to do around that circle around food, particularly, it's filling in the gap of a feeling of emptiness or loneliness or boredom. And so what you want to start doing is coming up with things that are so much more better than food, so that you can, if you're feeling lonely, call a friend, create relationships. Like what is it in your life that makes you feel lonely? What in your life is making you feel bored? What in your life is making you feel empty? Like you have to do the work and figure that out because that is the only way you'll get through that need. Otherwise, you're needing food to fill you up. And I've actually had to say to myself, because what I noticed is I would have, like as a soothing part, like once a week or once a month, we would get blizzards from Dairy Queen and I would always want the large. And it didn't matter how big the blizzard was. It was never enough. And once I learned this about myself and I learned about this concept, I was like, you know what? It's never, ever going to be enough. There is never, ever going to be a container of ice cream big enough to satisfy me because I'm not hungry for ice cream. I'm hungry because, I have put myself on a back burner. I didn't even have a hairbrush for how long, it was finding out about me and what my actual needs were and discovering what my needs were in order to get those met, that I was able to fill myself up with something else besides food. And I teach you how to go deep into all these things, how to identify your needs, how to do all that thought work to help you start to build and create the life you love. So go to the Health and Wellness Blueprint, join for just $1 and start, going through the foundational classes. You can download the workbook, the weight loss workbook. You get the ebook. And then you can join me on Monday at 10 a.m. I'll send you the link to our Zoom call. And you can hop on there with me, ask me any questions. We're live, and I'll stay on for as long as you need. But that's what I have for you today. I hope you found it helpful. It was a lot of information, so if you need to go back and review it, please do. All right, and I will talk to you in the next week. So have a great week. I hope you do well. All right, take care. Bye-bye.